On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
Vin Scully, the iconic voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers, passed away on August 2, 2022, at the age of 94. His death from natural causes marked the end of an era in American sports broadcasting, a voice that had been a constant companion for generations of baseball fans. Scully's departure was not just the loss of a man, but the silencing of a storyteller whose narrative style captured the heart of America's pastime for over 6 decades. Born in 1927, Scully began calling Dodgers games in 1950 at the age of 22 and remained the team's primary play-by-play broadcaster until his retirement in 2016. He witnessed the franchise's move from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, the breaking of racial barriers, and the transformation of baseball into a commercial and cultural juggernaut. His calm, poetic delivery and unmatched ability to weave stories into the slow rhythm of the game reflected the values of his era: patience, attention to detail, and an appreciation for tradition. Scully's death came at a time when sports media had become increasingly fast-paced and personality-driven. His passing symbolized a broader cultural shift, from slow, reflective storytelling to real-time hot takes and highlight reels. In that sense, Scully's voice was a relic of a bygone era, one where the broadcaster was a humble narrator rather than a performer. The immediate outpouring of tributes from fans, athletes, and journalists showed the profound impact he had made. For many, Scully wasn't just a commentator. He was the voice of summer, the soundtrack to childhood memories, and the bridge connecting generations through baseball. His death didn't just mark the end of a career. It amplified his legend as perhaps the greatest sports broadcaster in history. Vin Scully is immortalized through recordings, tributes, murals at Dodger Stadium, and even the renaming of streets and booths in his honor. Yet perhaps his greatest legacy is the standard he set for dignity, grace, and storytelling. He reminded us that even in a game of stats and scores, humanity lies in the stories behind them. His passing reflects how we cling to voices of comfort in an ever-changing world. Through memory and commemoration, Scully's voice will echo not just in stadiums, but in the hearts of those who found magic in the spaces between pitches. David Huddleston, a seasoned character actor best remembered for his portrayal of the titular role in The Big Lebowski, 1998, passed away on August 2, 2016, at the age of 85 due to advanced heart and kidney disease. His death was quiet and dignified, reflective of a career that had always thrived just outside the glaring spotlight of stardom. Though never a conventional leading man, Huddleston's presence left a lasting mark across television, stage, and film for over 5 decades. Huddleston's passing underscored the fading of a generation of performers known more for their craft than celebrity. Born in 1930, he came of age in a post-war America that prized work ethic and reliability. His career blossomed during the golden age of television and character acting, and his versatility made him a fixture in iconic roles, from the kindly Santa Claus in Santa Claus, the movie, 1985, to the bombastic blowhard in The Big Lebowski. The quiet dignity of his death echoed the unassuming yet deeply textured roles he so often portrayed. His passing may not have sent cultural shockwaves, but it prompted a heartfelt reevaluation of his contributions. In a media era dominated by spectacle, Huddleston represented a different breed, actors whose talent supported stories rather than overshadowed them. In this way, his legacy gained renewed appreciation. Fans and filmmakers paid tribute to the subtlety and richness he brought to his characters, attributes increasingly rare in a landscape obsessed with instant recognition and viral fame. Huddleston's death serves as a reminder that not all legends are loud. Some are built brick by brick across decades of steady, often under-celebrated work. His legacy has been preserved through retrospective articles, classic film screenings, and the undying cult status of The Big Lebowski, where his performance continues to resonate with new generations. In remembering Huddleston, we are reminded of how mortality gives shape to memory. Power and legacy are not only earned through leading roles or dramatic exits, but through the quiet consistency of a life devoted to the craft. Art, film, and cultural remembrance allow us to celebrate not just the stars at the center, but those who, like Huddleston, enriched the entire canvas. William S. Burroughs, a towering figure in 20th century American literature and a central voice of the Beat generation, died of a heart attack on August 2, 1997, at the age of 83. His death came after decades of pushing boundaries, literary, cultural, and personal. Burroughs had long lived on the fringes of conventional society, confronting taboos through both his writing and his life, and his passing marked the end of an era that valued radical artistic rebellion against the backdrop of a conformist post-war America. Burroughs's death from natural causes was almost ironic, given the chaos and volatility that had shaped much of his existence. He had battled heroin addiction, lived in exile, and survived the accidental shooting of his wife, Joan Vollmer, an incident that haunted both his conscience and his literature. Unlike his contemporaries Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg, Burroughs outlived the Beat heyday by decades, becoming an unlikely elder statesman of counterculture by the time of his death. His long life, punctuated by controversy, defied expectations, and his death brought with it a reflective re-examination of his contributions to literature and thought. In life, Burroughs challenged traditional structures, not just of grammar and narrative, but of morality and society. His novel Naked Lunch was banned for obscenity, yet later hailed as a masterpiece. His work gave voice to society's marginalized, addicts, outcasts, and the dispossessed, forcing readers to confront uncomfortable truths about control, freedom, and desire. In this way, his death symbolized the closing of a chapter in American literature that dared to explore the subconscious, the surreal, and the subversive. The aftermath of his passing saw a resurgence in academic and popular interest in his work. Retrospectives, biographies, and documentaries framed him as a visionary who anticipated many of the cultural shifts that would define the late 20th and early 21st centuries, from cyberpunk aesthetics to explorations of gender fluidity and surveillance. William S. Burroughs' legacy lives on not through mainstream canonization, but through the artists, writers, and thinkers he inspired. His death reminds us that mortality cannot contain revolutionary ideas. We commemorate such figures not only through printed pages and film reels, but by continuing to question authority, embrace the strange, and explore the boundaries of human experience, values Burroughs embodied until the end. Dorrice, a British stage and television actress best known for her work in mid-20th century theater, passed away from natural causes on August 2, 2007, at the age of 78. Though she never became a household name, her contributions to performance, particularly in the United Kingdom's rich theatrical tradition, reflected a generation of women who worked diligently in the arts, while often remaining in the shadow of more public-facing male counterparts or better-known relatives. Dorrice's death did not provoke global headlines or a seismic cultural reaction, but it did mark the quiet passing of an era in which dedicated character actors sustained the heart of British theater and early television. In a time before digital streaming and social media amplified celebrity, performers like Dorrice formed the backbone of local culture, appearing in repertory productions, radio plays, and dramatic serials that shaped Britain's entertainment landscape during and after World War II. Her life mirrored the societal roles expected of women in the mid-1900s, often supporting from behind the curtain, both literally and metaphorically. Married to Roy Dorrice, a prominent actor and the mother of actress Karen Dorrice, of Mary Poppins fame, Kay Dorrice represents a generation whose influence was subtle but foundational. In this sense, her death serves as a reminder of the countless creative contributors whose names may not be widely remembered, but whose legacy echoes in the work of those they inspired or nurtured. Dorrice's passing underscores how mortality often brings quiet reflection on those who upheld culture through quiet consistency rather than loud acclaim. While she may not be immortalized in towering statues or blockbuster biopics, her legacy continues in the continuity of theatrical tradition and in the performances of her descendants. Her death highlights how not all cultural figures leave with grand spectacle, but how every performer, no matter how peripheral to fame, plays a role in shaping memory. We immortalize such figures through oral history, archival preservation, and the stories told by those they touched. In Dorrice's case, she becomes part of a broader collective memory, the long, often uncredited chorus of artists who helped keep art alive. In remembering her, we honor not only a single life, but the enduring value of quiet, passionate dedication to craft. Fela Kuti, the Nigerian musician, political activist, and pioneer of Afrobeat, died on August 2, 1997, at the age of 58. The cause of death was officially reported as complications related to AIDS, though the circumstances surrounding his passing, much like his life, were steeped in controversy, stigma, and cultural resistance. His brother, Dr. Olukoye Ransom Kuti, a former Nigerian health minister, publicly announced the cause of death in a bold and unusual move for that time in Nigeria, where the AIDS epidemic was largely taboo. This announcement shocked the nation, not only due to Fela's towering presence, but because it forced a conversation about a disease that many preferred to ignore. Fela's death reflected the deep tensions in Nigeria during the late 20th century, between authoritarian governments and popular dissent, between traditional values and modern crises, between silence and radical expression. Throughout his life, Fela was a fierce critic of military dictatorships and corruption in Nigeria. He used his music as a weapon, crafting politically charged, genre-defying songs that attacked the establishment and uplifted the oppressed. He was arrested over 200 times, beaten and targeted relentlessly by government forces, yet he never ceased his rebellion. The immediate aftermath of his death saw an outpouring of grief from across Africa and the world. Over 1 million people attended his funeral in Lagos, a testament to his influence not just as a musician, but as a symbol of defiance and cultural pride. His passing did not mark the end of his impact. In fact, it amplified his legend. In death, he became a martyr of resistance, his image emblazoned on murals, album covers, and protest banners. The rise of global Afrobeat festivals, tributes from artists like Beyoncé and Paul McCartney, and the success of the Broadway musical Fela all helped to enshrine his legacy. Fela Kuti's death invites us to consider the uneasy marriage between mortality and revolution. How do societies remember those who refuse to conform? We immortalize such figures not because they were perfect, but because they were relentless. Fela's life and death remind us that art can challenge power, and memory can defy erasure. Through rhythm and resistance, he lives on, not just as a musician, but as a voice that still dares to speak truth to power. Helen Paige Camp, a seasoned character actress known for her work in television and film during the 1970s and 1980s, passed away on August 1, 1991, at the age of 60. Her death was the result of natural causes following a battle with cancer. Though not a household name, Camp's career spanned decades of changing cultural tides, and her death offers a quiet yet poignant lens through which to reflect on the evolving role of women in media, as well as the way Hollywood remembers those who supported rather than starred. Camp's work was often behind the marquee lights, yet deeply embedded in the fabric of American entertainment. Appearing in beloved series like Mary Hartman, Mama's Family, and Designing Women, she specialized in playing quirky, sharp-tongued women who added depth and humor to otherwise formulaic roles. Her characters, often grounded in realism, gave audiences glimpses into the kinds of women often overlooked in leading narratives: older, working class, and unapologetically themselves. In a television landscape that frequently marginalized such figures, Camp offered nuance and presence. Her passing did not command international headlines, but it reflected a broader truth about the nature of celebrity and remembrance. Not all legacies are built on stardom, yet they still shape culture. In the era Camp worked, television was becoming a more dominant and democratizing force, bringing complex women into homes across America. Her death marked the loss of an artist who embodied that shift, someone whose work resonated in small, meaningful ways with viewers who saw a bit of their own lives reflected on screen. In reflecting on Camp's death, we confront the quieter side of legacy, how those who support, enrich, and elevate a collective art form often go unsung. Yet memory finds its way through reruns, fan recollections, and the broader cultural shift they helped usher in. We immortalize such figures not always through statues or museums, but in the comfort of a familiar line delivered on screen, in the warmth of shared nostalgia. Helen Paige Camp's death reminds us that mortality is universal, but remembrance is layered. Through her characters, she offered a mirror to a changing America. In doing so, she claimed a lasting, if understated, place in the tapestry of popular culture. Alexander Graham Bell, best known as the inventor of the telephone, died peacefully on August 2, 1922, at his estate in Nova Scotia, Canada, at the age of 75. His passing, due to complications from diabetes, marked the end of a life defined by relentless innovation, a deep commitment to scientific inquiry, and a profound interest in communication, not just through machines, but between people and cultures. Bell's death occurred at a time when the world was transitioning into the modern technological era. The telephone had already reshaped personal and business life, collapsing distances and laying the groundwork for the interconnected world we know today. Yet Bell himself was more than just the telephone man. He was a teacher of the deaf, a speech therapist, and a founder of institutions such as the National Geographic Society. His death did not spark political upheaval or social unrest, but it reverberated across scientific communities and industries built upon his breakthroughs. What makes Bell's death especially significant is how it mirrored the optimism and belief in progress that defined the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He belonged to a generation of inventors who saw technology as a means of overcoming human limitations, distance, disability, ignorance. That he died surrounded by his loved ones in the quiet of his adopted homeland, rather than amid turmoil, speaks to the stability and esteem he enjoyed during his lifetime. The moment of silence observed across telephone lines throughout the U.S. and Canada at the hour of his funeral was a fitting tribute to a man who had given the world a new way to speak and be heard. Bell's legacy continues to shape how we remember pioneers of innovation. He is immortalized not only in textbooks and biographies, but in the devices we use daily and the institutions he helped build. His name adorns schools, research awards, and countless patents. His story reflects a broader human impulse: to connect, to solve, and to push the boundaries of what's possible. In mourning Bell, the world acknowledged more than a man. It honored a symbol of ingenuity and the enduring power of ideas. His death reminds us that even as the body fades, the echoes of transformative thought can ring out across generations.